Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Aditya, and this is the continuing series where I'm talking about my new project or initiative called Launchbase. I think this is video number 5, update 4. It's been a while since I made the last video. I give you my apologies because I had a lot of other time commitments and it was hard to manage all of them. And I tried to get out a video yesterday, but there were some issues with my laptop. I couldn't get the video out. And this update, there are quite a lot of changes, even though it might not seem like a lot. So anyways, I tried my best. I pushed all the changes out. You should be able to see them on GitHub too. And I'll just quickly walk you through the demo. If you're new here, if you're seeing this series for the first time, I have some links in the description. You can see the first concept video where I explain the concept and the motivation behind this project. And if you're a developer, if you're interested in contributing, if you like what I'm doing, or you just want to give suggestions, you can contact me, get in touch with me, contribute on GitHub. All that's perfectly welcome. In fact, I would encourage you to do so. So, anyways, let me get to the demo right now. I don't want to waste any time. So, what you're seeing right now is the page that gets displayed whenever you view a particular idea, either a draft or a published idea, whatever it is. Now, this overall template, this structure you would have seen in the previous video itself. So, I can come over here to this community ideas. I'm sorry, I think the server's down. Just give me a moment where I'll restart it. Problems when uh, it's still developing. Let me just start the server locally on my machine and we should be good to go. Yeah, it started. So when you go to this main page, you view the community ideas, you see all of this. This is just dummy text. I was just playing around with the website, with the API. You have all of this stuff, right? And when you click on one of this, so I've not, so these are all published ideas, they're publicly available. This is not going to work. It's going to show, it's going to be blank. I'm going to work on this on the next update. But what I've done in today's update is the drafts. So I can create new ideas over here, which I've already showed you. Once you create an idea, it saves as a draft first. So you'll be able to view all your drafts in the My Draft Ideas tab. So you can see all the drafts over here. I'm going to open one of them. And once I open this is a draft. So you can see, by the way, the URL is the same, right? But once it loads the data, it notices, okay, this is a private draft. It's not a public one, it's a private draft. So let's load all the data. And basically this form, this structure is the same as the create new idea. Whatever you see over here is pretty much the same. The only difference is we don't have this invite team member section. That's pushed to a different section. So all the way until here, basically the same. So it loads the data, it populates all of this stuff, and then you're good to go. And all the functionality is the same. So you can add links like this, delete links, and then you can save them. You can see once it saves, this we get the success message saying that it was successfully updated. Everything works as you expect it to. Now we have another section called team members where all the members of this idea are listed. So if you create an idea for the first time, you're going to be the only member, and obviously you are going to be the admin member. So I have two roles as of now, an admin role and a normal member role. And every user also has his handle. So you can see this username or handle that I can see over here, and in the future I'm going to have this feature. Right now it's not working, I can't view the profile, but in the future I will have. It'll just take you to that user's profile, and then you have an option to edit the role. So you can see this tooltip over here, this title that says change role. I can click on this. We have a pop-up or a dialog. It asks you, do you want to, are you sure you want to change the role? So in this case, change Aditya's role, my role, to member. I can confirm by saying yes or say no. So if I say yes, it load, and then you'll get this error message because there must at least be one admin for the idea. So that's how this works. And then if you want to invite new members, you can always do so at the bottom. So I'm going to give one of my email addresses. So give it, hit send invite. It's going to make the request. and then it's going to reload the page. For now, I have not focused too much on it being very intuitive, but anyways, it does the job. So we can see that the invite has been sent to this email address at this time, December 13, 2022. And at any point of time, I have an option to resend the invite. So let's say the person contacts me and say, hey, I've not got the invite. Can you please resend it to me? You can click on this. It'll ask you, are you sure? Click on yes, it's going to resend. Or you can revoke the invite. So even though we send an email, so we send basically every time you send an invite, we send them an email with a link. So if they click on the link, they can accept the invite and they're also invited and have access to the idea. So at any point of time before they accept the invite, if you want to revoke the invite, so it's not going to work anymore. Even if they do click on the link, that invite ID is not accessible anymore or it's not valid. So we can revoke it using this method. So I'll show you what happens. You click on yes, it's going to load and it's going to update here. We don't see any pending invites anymore. Works the same way. And at the bottom, this is a section that I call executive actions. Basically, very important decisions. Have to think twice before doing them. That's why I've highlighted this in these bold colors. So if you want to leave the idea or if you want to publish the idea. So we don't have a concept of delete, and at the same time, you can't remove any members. That's the philosophy that I've gone with, because this is something that I feel is very important. You're working on this important idea with a group of people, and let's say there's some kind of argument between people in the team, and let's say someone decides to make a rash decision and remove someone from the idea. They completely lose access to all of this data which they might have contributed to. So I don't want to have that kind of possibility to occur. So what I've done is, you can change roles. So if you're an admin, you can change someone else's role. So you can degrade another admin's role to a normal member, but you can never remove a member from an idea at any point of time. So they will always have read access. The only thing is they can edit it. So because they were part of the idea initially, that is your choice to include them. So they will only be allowed to leave the idea on their own will. So at any point of time, if you feel, okay, I don't agree with this anymore, I don't want to be a part of this team, you can choose to leave the idea. So if there are multiple people, you can just quietly leave and you won't be associated with the idea anymore. If you are the only person left in the idea, then we will just delete all the data and it'll be gone. It'll be like it never existed anymore. So that's how this leave idea feature works. And then we have publish idea. So this draft is going to be published, it's going to be made public. So we have a small verification over here. Only admins can do this, of course, and all the fields have to be complete. So if you're making it public, obviously you need to give the users some description and explain in detail what the idea actually is. Only then will you be able to publish it. So I can save it over here and then go ahead and publish the idea. Very straightforward. And if once I get this page ready for the next update, I'll show you how this looks. So this is basically the same page. All I did was reload the page, but now because it's published, the layout is going to change, and this layout I'll start working in the coming days, and I'll give you the update as soon as possible. And you'll be able to see the idea that I just published over here. You can see it was this one, this thing, and I can go to community ideas also, and I should be able to see it here. So, I mean, straightforward. This is all I've done. It might seem it might seem like I didn't do much, but there were a lot of features that I had to get ready. It happened over multiple days, and I'm surprised that I finally got it ready. So this is great news, and I hope that I'll get the next set of changes as soon as possible. But right now, what I'm going to do is switch over to the code. So any of the developers who are interested, they can I'll walk you through the code, the changes that I've done, so that if you want to contribute, it might be easier for you. So this is Visual Studio Code. This is the workspace that I have. You will be able to see the comments. I think there are two comments that I've made. Not ideal. I should have split it up into much smaller comments. Sorry, commits. But this is how I did it. I just tried to work as quick as possible. I have made a couple of bug fixes in the source folder, but otherwise everything's in the public folder. So we can go to templates, just an idea, and basically all the changes were in this idea HTML file. So you know, all of this is pretty straightforward. It's something that you should be familiar with, especially if you're following the series. But I'll explain the main part. So inside the settings content div, you have this div called with an ID of pending idea, and initially it has a class that is set to hide. So this hide class, it's there in the index CSS. You can open this up, index.css. It's there in the assets folder, and this is just one common CSS file I have for now. Basically it sets display to none. So the HTML is there, the elements of the DOM, they're like physically there, it's just hidden, it's not visible at all. So I felt it was a good choice rather than to completely what to say, manipulate this huge chunk of the DOM every time. I felt let's just have it, it can be static, let's just hide it. So that was a choice that I made. That is one div. That's everything you see. And then parallel to that, a sibling element is this published idea div. This is empty. I'm going to work on the changes in the following days, but this is just to show you the structure. So these two are parallel, and both are going to have the hide class initially. So once the data is done loading, I'll show you the JavaScript. Once the data is done loading, I'm going to remove this hide class. So it's going to be visible again, and then I'm going to populate all of these fields, these input fields, text area fields, all of this I'm going to populate. That's it, straightforward. And now I'll show you the JavaScript which actually executes all of this. So same folder structure, just like the templates folder inside the assets folder, same thing. We're going to go all the way to the top. A lot of this should be quite familiar to you. If you are not sure what these are referencing, you can jump back to the HTML file. I'm going to scroll down. This is the first request that gets run. This is a get request that gets that particular idea. So what we do is I have this yeah, this one, these two lines of code that gets the ID of the idea from the URL. So I'm going to switch to the browser, and in the browser you can see this is how the URL looks. So it extracts this ID from the URL. So I just had um, created this kind of logic so that even if we had query parameters, it will still work. So using this, we get the idea ID, and then I'm going to use that idea ID to make the request, the get request, and this is the logic that I do once I do that. So first I check for errors. If the error is unauthorized, if it has that error code, I'm going to log out, because that means that one error code is basically if the user's auth token is invalid, if they try to manipulate it, something is wrong, there's some discrepancy, I'm going to log out the user, delete that, because most likely it just expired, that token, or something's happened, they've logged out of all the devices previously. So it's just easier if we log out the user and they start fresh. This is something that I employ in all of the requests. And then if it's not, then the rest of the code is going to execute after that. So this loading message is the loading data. You saw that div at the top, it said loading data while the request was being made. So I'm going to target that. I'm going to remove the um, basically I'm going to convert that from this info class to the error class. So that basically changes the color. Initially it's this blue color, I'm going to change it to this red color and make it look like an error, because obviously the data request, the request failed, something's wrong. So I want to show the users the actual error that's happened. And what I've done is to simplify the error process. I have this mapping, this object over here. Where is that? I think it's down. Where did that go? Yeah, here, error messages, right? Of all the possible error codes. So basically my API, the way I've done is, this is not the ideal way, but I have simplified short error messages or error codes that you can see on the left hand side, which are keys in this object. And then for every key or every code, I have a longer descriptive error message that I display to the user. So what I'm doing is I'm checking if that property is there. If it is there, I'm going to set the text content to that corresponding value. So the user is going to get a nice, friendly and intuitive error message. if none of the codes were matching, if it's not present in that object, then I'm just going to say something went wrong, please try again, please reload the page, something like that. Now, if there wasn't any error, I'm just going to hide that loading message. I'm going to and then I'm going to proceed with the next set of logic. I'm checking if the status is a draft. So right now I've only worked on the draft status. A published status, as I said before, not worked on it. That's going to come later. So we do all of this logic. So again, I don't want to go in too much detail. Basically, these three lines, this is what I use to populate the data, as I said. So I'm going to get the data from this request, populate the inputs, and then this is the functionality that I use to, let's say I'm going to switch back to the browser for a second. So basically, initially this is blank, right? So you can click on add link, it keeps opening this, it keeps creating more link items, link inputs. So let's say we have two links, right? So it needs to dynamically create two inputs and populate the values. So that is the function that I have over here. I'm going to switch back to the code. So that is this create link item function. Similarly, for create member item, there's another function. You can scroll down and check that. And then this, you will be seeing quite a few times, this kind of code. So this is the content of the confirm dialog. So you would have noticed that every time I click on those small emoji buttons, I have this dialog box that comes up. So that confirmation dialog. So the way I've gone about the functionality is there's just one dialog. And initially, as I said, it's hidden. You won't be able to see it. And once you do click on that, we show the dialog. So depending on which button was clicked, we change the inner HTML. So in this case, this is the inner HTML. If you click on one of the edit icons, those pencil icons, so that this is the HTML that we set for that dialog box. And this is straightforward, you can just read through the code. But basically, depending on every emoji button that you click on, every confirmation that you click on, we're going to change the inner HTML. So this is for the resend invite. You would have noticed those refresh icons. So you click on that, the confirm dialog box comes up, and then it asks, are you sure you want to resend the invite? You say yes. So this is the inner HTML for that. And then this is for the delete invite, right? Yeah. So it's the same dialog box. I'm just changing the HTML every time, setting the event listener. So this is the logic that I've used for that. And you should be able to see the functions for all of them. So I don't want to go in much detail again because a lot of it is self-explanatory. If any of you don't understand, you can definitely reach out to me, or if you feel that I've not documented or used proper commenting, I'll definitely add more, because right now I'm just a solo developer. I'm trying to get out the features as soon as possible. So I've not had too much time to pay attention to these sort of nuanced details, making the code better readable. As long as I followed a consistent style and theme to the code to make sure it was readable, I thought it was okay. So I've left it like this. But if you need anything, you can definitely reach out to me. So that's pretty much the changes for this update. And I'm just going to stop here because basically, depending on every button that you click on, the only thing that's mainly going to change is the request that we send. So the URL, the API that we hit, it's going to be different. And most of the logic is the same. So I'm going to stop here because that's the update. I guess I'm done. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully that will come out in a day or two. And as always, your feedback and suggestions are definitely appreciated, either in the YouTube comments, or you can personally reach out to me on any of the social media platforms, GitHub, Twitter, Instagram, or even my email, whichever works for you. So I guess that's all. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.